Hey guys, Veronica here. So I am finally back home at the farm after 3 long months of work, and I am ready to get growing. I hope you guys are too. I've basically been here 48 hours. I've kind of unpacked, I've kind of taken a few naps. It's been raining a lot, and just checking in now with all of what's going on in the greenhouse and the gardens. Wanted to give you a little tour because I feel like a lot of times on social media I'll post, the beautiful pictures of the produce or plants that are growing, but not so much all of this behind the scenes stuff. So just wanted to give you a look around. I've left a lot of plants in a revolving door of interns' care, and I don't think that they've done a terrible job. Yeah, some stuff looks a little dead. I think some things went not as watered as they should have been, but all in all, I feel like whenever I get around a 50% survival rate, which is what's happening here, that's pretty good odds, all things considered. I wasn't here to take care of it, and I didn't really leave notes. So we have lots of things to cover as far as what's coming up in the next week or two, while I do this sort of cleanup process and assess what's going to make it, assess what seeds are planted, figure out, what's going to come next, and walk you through that process of starting a spring garden, bringing back and reviving your plants from last year if you still have any, or starting new ones if you don't have any to work with. So we have things like these peppers, where you can see right in here, there's still some green that's happening on the stem. You see a little bit of leaves popping out. There's a few broken pieces. We're going to do a lot of pruning here in the next few weeks, you guys. We're going to do a lot of assessing, seeing, what's worth saving and what's not. But if you have second-year rootstock like these guys, it's worth it to try and save it. All around behind me, they've already planted, the people who are here helping and interning around here, they've already planted a lot of seeds for some peppers, some tomatoes, some tomatillos, there's flowers, there's a couple of herbs, just kind of figuring out what's sprouting in there, what we can do to help move that process along. It's starting to warm up finally. We've got maybe mid-60s during the day, still 30s and 40s at night. That's why it's great to have a greenhouse. Let's take a look around the rest of the garden and see what work needs to be there. Kind of start coming up with questions and ideas as far as what you guys want to cover and talk about. We got a lot of ground to cover and we got a lot of garden puns to make, so let's go. Well, take you with me. So here are all of the back beds that we have right behind the house. I don't know if I've ever showed you guys these actually. We're going to do full-blown garden tour just so you can see the scope of work that I like to get myself into. These are planted right before I left, most of these beds, and we have everything from this crazy box of celery. This maybe had 6 plants, and it's just insane now. There's all of this. I think this was just regular kale, not flowering kale, although I had flowering sprouts somewhere, but I don't know what happened to them. There's some leeks in here. We got Brussels sprouts in this back bed. More celery because we thought the celery wasn't going to make it and just got an insane amount of celery. Some purple sprouting broccoli here. It's doing all right. And this is something an intern planted. Oh, we got some herbs going in. Loving the seed packet that's just clothespin to the side there. So these beds, we try to keep just a lot of greens and stuff in because it's a lot closer to the kitchen. The back of the house is right here. So you can just walk out if you're cooking and grab some greens for salads or cooking, whatever you're doing. Some really short Brussels sprouts in here. And we were kind of hoping they'd be ready for St. Patrick's, but I have another secret Brussels sprout spot that we're going to go to in a little bit and pick those instead. So here is the bed that I've done tomatoes in the past. They've been amending this all winter, and we're going to walk into it right now. And it's lots of compost, lots of mulch in the form of spent straw from the sheep and goats and all of their pastures. And as you can see, it's just mulched right now. So lots of space to plant. I think that we're going to do squash or melons in here this coming year rather than doing tomatoes again because it's just not the safest choice. So since we're adding a lot more organic matter to the soil, it should be ready to support another heavy feeder like squash and melons. If you're going to plant heavy feeders years in a row without a lot of light feeders in between, it helps to add as much organic matter as you can. Luckily, we have lots of compost here, so it's not as big of an issue. I'll show you over here. This is all the garlic that got planted in the fall with some daffodils in the back because we are trying to deal with some ground squirrel gopher problems. Not that it's actually going to help, but it's worth a shot. You can see the garlic's doing pretty well. That won't be ready until maybe June, I'd say, at the earliest. And then right in here, it looks like the interns have harvested some for lunch recently, but I have all of these mushroom blocks that I grabbed from my friends over at Far West Fungi. And you can see, since we've been getting rain, we have all of these little shiitake mushrooms that are just popping up. It's a great way to sort of like start incorporating that. Oh, here's some nice ones. They're splitting a little bit. See? So cute. A great way to start incorporating that sort of like permaculture mindset in a smaller space without having to do the whole work of like, okay, I'm going to figure out how to cultivate mycelium and then inoculate, you know, some sort of like grain spawn and then compress it into blocks or hay or whatever. Like that, I don't have to deal with any of like the sterilization and all of that sort of stuff. I just get the blocks that are spent from the commercial growers that still have life in them, and then I just kind of like put them along the edges of the garden, and then we get mushrooms when it rains. So that's the sort of stuff that I really want to cover this year, you guys, is just finding ways to make growing your own food a little bit more effortless. There's a lot of like hacks and tips and tricks in that space. So, okay. That is that garden. Oh, there was one more thing in here. This is going to be like sort of a long update, but I didn't have plans. I'm just like walking around discovering it as you do. Look at this. So this is all arugula. This was not planted. This was a plant that started like here last year, and then it went to seed, and I collected some of the seeds, but a lot of the seeds, they were already popping open, so I would just grab them and like shake the seeds everywhere, and then when it rained, you have this huge patch of arugula that you didn't have to plant. So there's lots of stuff like that, where you kind of just like let stuff grow, and it does. And we're gonna cover it because that's like all the magical stuff that happens with gardening. Let's go and pick some either baby cabbages or Brussels sprouts. I'm not really sure. We're gonna have to find the tags. And we finally made it to get some sprouts. Cutting a lot of these sprouts right now. 1, because they're starting to open. 2, because the peacocks are eating them. 3, because it's St. Patrick's Day and we need more cabbage to go with our corned beef. So that's about it for now. I have to cut this update just a little bit short because we have hail in the forecast and I got some plants that I need to put back in the greenhouse. But anyway, thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button so that you can stay updated with all of the gardening tips and tricks and lessons that we're going to be covering in the next few months into spring and into summer. I'm basically going to be sharing everything that I know as far as I can think of. And until next time, happy spring, guys. Okay, bye.